Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're back in the pub, so everybody relax. As usual, joining me is Christopher Hamill, Patrick Van Straten, and we would usually start with a question from you guys, but instead, there is some breaking news. We shoot this on a Thursday, and it's literally just happened that Manchester United have agreed a £75 million fee with Everton for Romelu Lukaku. I'm too excited to speak, Pato. What are your opinions on the move?
Well, currently we're not entirely sure what the reports say, right? Some people are absolutely convinced it's happening, some people are not so sure. If Chelsea and Man United are both after Lukaku, two of the richest clubs in the world, and Everton are going to do a deal for £75 million, that kind of seems like a good deal to me. I don't think 75 mil is bad at all. He's 24 years old. We know he's very fast. He's very big. He's an intelligent player. He would come into that team and immediately replace the production that you had of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Pogba would love to play with the guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's class. Between him and Morata, you can't really go wrong, can you? They're both young, both clinical, proper goal scorers. I'm pretty sure that over the last 3 seasons, only one player scored more Premier League goals than Lukaku, and it's Aguero. Wow. 3 or 4 might be the last 4 seasons, I think. But he adds everything that United need from a lone striker.
Yeah, and I'd imagine now it's become pretty clear that you want Lukaku over Morata. I'd imagine you get him, especially with Rooney as the make way. I think maybe if Chelsea go after Lukaku, they pay a bit more, right? Because they don't get Rooney in return. Manchester United would apparently subsidise Wayne Rooney's wages to the tune of 180 grand a week.
Madness. Only for a year, though, for a year.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Which is madness. And I don't know if Everton ended up with Rooney and Giroud up front. I'm not sure if Everton fans would be totally displeased. I mean, Giroud would be a really savvy signing in my opinion. He'd get them 15 goals. I think Arsenal would be silly to sell him at 15 to 20 million. But yeah, Lukaku, big friends with Pogba, as one of you boys just said. He's always playing basketball with the guy. I reckon his head's been turned. I think he's on his way to United. And for me, I think this could be a title-deciding signing. I would go as far as to say that. And I'm not an alarmist. That's normally Joe Tomlinson territory.
Really exciting signing.
But hugely.
In a way, I kind of feel like he would fit Chelsea better. Like, he runs the channels and they're less reliant on hold-up play. I mean, if you look at what Zlatan was doing last season, he was just the hub for the entire attack. Lukaku's not going to do that.
More similar to Costa, right?
Yeah. He'll be a defender, right, rather than necessarily like playing with his back to goal and bringing other guys into play. I mean, if Mourinho wants to play in the big games, it'll be a nightmare because Mourinho can sit deep and play on the counter attack. And if you've got people like Mkhitaryan, Martial, and Lukaku on the counter attack, you are going to tear teams apart.
And one thing I would say is you made a really good point there about running the channels. I don't think that United's moves for Griezmann are completely over. It won't happen this summer, obviously, because of the ban, but I think Griezmann will eventually be a United player. And the thought of Griezmann and Lukaku up front is truly frightening.
You are so well stocked for wide options as well.
Yeah.
Mkhitaryan, Rashford, Martial, Juan Mata. It's sickening.
It is.
To be
Lingard.
Jesse Lingard, exactly.
But what do you guys at home think? Is the move for Lukaku a good one, or have we overpaid? You can vote in the poll right now. Next question comes from Ojesh Shreshethar. Definitely pronounced that one wrong. He says, do you reckon Spurs playing at Wembley will actually affect them? Now let me just read out their record at Wembley.
Kill this fly, mate. I'm sorry, but this is driving me nuts.
Oh my God, Pato's obsessed with this thing. There it is, get it then.
I can't see it against the ground. Oh, there it is.
Oh mate.
It's one of God's creatures, mate. Leave it alone.
God's creatures.
Right, let's do it again. Ready?
They're all dicks. Look at George.
Do you think Spurs playing at Wembley will actually affect them? Let me read you their record at the new Wembley since it was rebuilt. Played 9, won 2, lost 6, drawn 1.
I didn't realise it was that bad.
Ugly scenes, Chris. Is it going to affect them?
Maybe those figures are a little bit misleading because they were predominantly Champions League games, right?
Yeah, it's a tougher fixture.
Spurs, yeah, exactly. Spurs is European now. Maybe improve this season, having had a campaign in the Champions League last season. Pochettino, not sure if he's managed in Europe before. Definitely not with Espanyol. Maybe Europa League campaign
with Southampton,
with Spurs,
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. I'm
League
reaching there. But the pitch at Wembley is actually 5 metres wider and 2 metres longer. So when it comes to Pochettino's pressing tactics, that might not sound like a lot.
It's a lot.
But if you're a high pressing side, chances are you're going to become jaded quicker. The Spurs' pitch, George assures me anyway, that's Sean Connery there, is on the small side.
It's the second smallest in the whole league.
just pressing in that space might be a problem. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, the pitch is this, like you said then, the White Hart Lane pitch is the second smallest in the Premier League, 6,700 square metres. Bearing in mind that the Wembley pitch would make it the largest in the entire Premier League, 7,300 square metres.
600 metre difference.
600 metre difference to
God,
cover.
that's
That
a
is
lot of area.
big distance when your
Sure.
whole game is based around a high pressing philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is, I think that Pochettino is an intelligent enough coach to
Yeah,
adapt to this.
should be.
They should have a deeper squad this year than they've ever had under him before, so that might help a little bit. But we might see them start to tail off in March, and we might see something like we saw in Pochettino's first season there. Like one of the Spurs, like kind of football analysts you see on Twitter, a guy called Michael Kane, basically looked into the numbers and found out that around the 70th minute, between the 70th minute and the 90th minute, that's when Spurs were having a huge drop-off in terms of shots they took versus shots they conceded.
Yeah.
So they just were struggling to adapt to the press. Their fitness levels weren't there yet. You may see something like that again this season. Last 20 minutes of games may be very
Sissoko
tough.
might come into his own on a bigger pitch.
Oh yeah,
Because
maybe.
he can run.
Doubtful.
That's his only
He
strength.
just run up and down the side.
One more point we haven't even talked about is the fans. For me, one of the biggest problems with playing at Wembley is if you're a smaller team, let's look at like the likes of Burnley, maybe Watford, especially the likes of Brighton. For your fans, the chance to go to Wembley for a day out is massive. Unless you're in a cup final or a cup semi-final or a playoff final, you don't get to go there.
That's true.
That's a big day out for fans. They are going to be so pumped up for that. It's almost like a neutral ground. Although you won't have as big a allocation as you would for a cup final, that definitely has an effect on fans. Next question comes from FaZe Axe. Would be called FaZe Links in the UK
the
probably.
body spray.
Just a little
Got
deodorant reference there for you at home.
Yep.
He says, who is Germany's best talent? There's so many to talk about here.
How long you got, mate?
I'm going to boot it off.
Go on.
Leroy Sané.
Oh, annoying. I wanted
Leroy
it.
Sané, what a player to watch. Is there anything he can't do? Honestly, this season could be one of the defining players for Manchester City. Honestly, he could be one of the best players in that entire team.
At an alarming rate, didn't he?
I've got written down here 2.7 take-ons, 1.8 chances created per game. That's compared to Alexis Sanchez, who's rocking like 3 and 2.2 respectively. It's ridiculous what this kid can do. He's large, he's physical as well.
Large.
I know that like we play that down, but physical attributes in the Premier League are massive.
Yeah.
Are a massive part, and Leroy Sané's got them all.
Is a huge bonus, right?
100%. Pep Guardiola has done a brilliant bit of business bringing him in last summer. I can't look past him as Germany's biggest talent. There are some other names in there though that are filth, quite frankly.
We've just been to the Confederations Cup, right, and watched the B team romp the tournament.
Yeah.
It's such a professional, efficient manner. You've got Draxler, who's 23, 24, captaining the side to victory.
Yeah.
In that side, you've got a player in every position who could be described as one of the upcoming. They could potentially be the best in that position for the next 5, 10 years or whatever.
100%.
Nicolas Sula, who's just been snapped up by
Massive,
Bayern Munich
by the
from
way, in the
Hoffenheim.
flesh. Huge in the
Absolutely
flesh.
Huge
He's
bloke.
like 6'5", isn't he? Goretzka, Maya.
Demirbay.
Yeah, Demirbay.
Yeah.
He's great.
He scored an absolute corker against Cameroon. And
Julian Brandt as well came on in about the 70th minute and just dominated.
Julian Brandt, another tall winger. He's past 6 foot, isn't he? I think he's 6'1".
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, and the gentleman up top for RB Leipzig.
Timo,
Werner.
who every German hates. He's getting so much abuse. He's getting booed by his own fans in the Confederations Cup every game.
You get a lot of when you go to Leipzig, I think.
What about old Julian Weigl? Haven't mentioned him at all.
Well, Julian Weigl as well is
The German Verratti.
Obviously, he's out till September with a broken ankle, though.
I think Weigl is a special talent in the sense that like it's easier to find outstanding young wide players than it is to find outstanding young central midfielders. They're like Champions League quality 21-year-old central midfielders. Very, very difficult to find. I mean, so definitely Weigl will be up there. I'd also say somebody that you could talk about 3 Leverkusen players, right? So there's Benny Henrichs, who can play on both sides as a fullback and on the wing. He's He's a big guy. He's very fast, very creative.
He came on in the game we watched.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Got an assist within 10 minutes.
Well, there's him. There's Jonathan Tah as well. Huge centre back, still really young, but because he's massive,
Been
you
around
forget
for
how young he
ages
is.
as well, Jonathan.
And then,
Tuchel.
somebody who hasn't been around for ages is Kai Havertz, who's also at Bayer Leverkusen. He's 17 years old. I believe he just signed a contract extension, and he had to take a day out of training last season to go and sit his school exams. So,
Mad,
I mean, if he's already playing for an upper Bundesliga team at this stage.
Das Reboot, their whole plan to win the World Cup, you know, following that 5-1 defeat from Germany, it was supposed to last 10 years. It's just gone into overdrive, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the talent's outrageous. 100%, but then you look at the French team as well, also incredibly talented. And let's not forget Spain, the likes of Saul Niguez coming through, the likes of
Argentina and San Paolo in charge as well.
Yeah.
They could do some special things.
Exciting times on the international stage.
But German players, man, we haven't even mentioned Kimmich, we haven't even mentioned Felix Passlack,
I know.
the right back at Dortmund. There are so many guys, it's disgusting.
It properly is. Next question comes from Patatis of Illuminati Patata. What's the name?
Patata.
He says, who is the worst player to ever play for your favourite football team?
You must have some.
And why? Now, Celtic have some screamers.
We had a player called Rafael Scheidt. I kid you not, he is a Brazilian who was signed for 5 million, consistently voted the worst Celtic signing ever. Day 2 or 3 of Martin O'Neill being there, he told him to pack his bags and f*** off.
Shut
He
up.
could leave for whatever, he could go on a free. Apart from that, Effie Ambrose, obviously in the big games, he's got to be up there. But you know, was just in the Scottish second division team of the season, so he's bounced back. What about you boys? I'm going to think of some more while I throw it to you.
Go on.
Well, look, George wanted me to say Yaya Sanogo for this question.
Oh, he is bad, mate. Let's not forget he went to Ajax, and De Boer said that he was the worst player he's ever seen professionally.
Well, he's about to get a rude awakening at Palace, I tell you that. Look, I mean, the thing with Yaya Sanogo is we got him for a tribunal fee, and also he's a striker, and I feel like a bad defender is much worse than a bad striker.
Yeah,
because a bad striker just doesn't win you games, whereas a bad defender will actively lose them for you. So I'm going to say Andre Santos, who also we paid real money for, like real human money. It was a lot of money, and he was a disgrace.
That's how much we sold Van Dijk for.
We bought Per Mertesacker, Mikel Arteta, and Andre Santos on the last day of the window. 2 of those were great. One of them was an absolute trash can human being. He was so bad at football. It's unbelievable. The only good thing he ever did for us was score that goal against Chelsea when we beat them 5-3 at Stamford Bridge. Wanker.
All of Ronnie Dyler's signings are coming back to me.
Oh no, Ronnie. God. The less said about Ronnie Dyler's time, the better. Cole, of
Colin
course.
Kazim Richards. Oh God, I've just chosen to forget about all these. Go on, you go.
There's been a fair few actually, United. There's been some.
Jemba.
David
Jemba. I mean, let's not even talk about Bebe, because we spent 7 million on that.
Yeah, he won the Homeless World Cup, though, didn't he?
He did. I'm actually going to go for David Bellion. David Bellion, who
what about Taibbi?
Yeah, close, Massimo Taibbi. But David Bellion, we nearly got transfer banned for tapping him up. That's how close it came. I think we got him for about £3 million. We nearly got him done for tapping up. He was there 4 years, scored 8 goals. He had made about 20 appearances.
Was he a striker?
Yeah, he's a striker.
Wow,
the guy had the touch of a trampoline. He looked like he'd never been on a pitch before. He ran around like a Bambi on ice, honestly. He had the longest leg stride I've ever seen on the football pitch. It looked like he was covering 3 metres per stride. Appallingly bad. Scored in his debut as well. And from then on, it went catastrophically badly. Loaned into West Ham. Don't think he got a goal there. And he's now at Red Star Belgrade.
God, Dong Fang Zhao. Who was the other?
God,
yeah, Dong Fang Zhu was horrendous.
The guy from Trinidad that you signed was absolutely unit.
Don't know.
Oh, Manucho.
Manucho. I do know who you mean.
Yeah.
But there's been some terrible ones. And I have to say, some of Fergie's dealings, at times brilliant, but at times
questionable.
Crack. We come to the title question now. If Adam Templeman has done his job, doubtful. Famza questions us with, due to inflated transfer prices, how long will it be and who will be the first £200 million player?
Questions us with.
Mm.
I'll jump in, mate.
Go on, please. Save me.
I'm going to miss out the obvious one because Pato just whispered it in my ear. Maybe Ousmane Dembele. If Neymar was to move, he's linked with like Man City.
Oh, he's boring though. He's not going anywhere, is he?
Maybe Neymar. But player fees will approach 200 million without a shadow of a doubt.
How soon? Next window?
And I think one Frenchman is going to probably broach 120, 130 fairly soon, Pato, and his name is
Kylian Mbappe. Boring.
Yeah.
It's a little bit boring.
But he's 120 million now. How much is he if he scores 30 goals next summer?
Well, this is the thing. If he'd come to Arsenal this summer for like 120 mil, then you know that part of what Arsene would have said to him to try and get him to come would have been, look, we won't stand in your way when you eventually want to go to Real Madrid. But if you want to turn a profit on a guy who you spent 120 mil on, you must want 200 for him. It's absolutely nuts. I mean, it's always going to be an attacker, isn't it?
So maybe it has to be.
I mean, Pulisic maybe, somebody like that, somebody who's already outstanding. They're 18
Paulo
years
Dybala,
old.
that's a great
Dybala's got
shout.
a lot of.
He's also quite commercially viable, Paulo Dybala.
That's what I was trying to articulate.
I can imagine Paulo Dybala is as Real Madrid's main man, sort of on every poster, every shirt sale once Cristiano Ronaldo moves on. He's that sort of player. A player who's not so commercially viable but would cost a lot of money, Harry Kane. Wow. If somebody wanted Harry Kane, I think Daniel Levy would demand close to £200 million. Not that he necessarily pay it.
He's one of those players, right? But his kind of image and persona, I think, would.
I agree. He's not a £200 million player outside the Premier League potentially, but I think that's the sort of money Tottenham would ask for if they wanted him to go.
And because he's homegrown, and also if his injury record carries on being as good as it is. The thing is, if you're going to pay £200 million for a player, though, they're going to be somebody probably under 24 because you want that value out of them, and that's why I think Mbappe or somebody like Pulisic is the obvious shout.
Kieran Tierney, maybe.
Idiot. Penultimate question from Noodle Guy. He says, who is the best number 10 in the Premier League? Now, we're not going to go on shirt numbers here because most of the players that wear the number 10 are not actually number 10s, i.e. Harry Kane. So let's go for more the position, and there are some big names in here. There are some talented players, Pato. Who are you going for?
I'm going to go for Mesut Ozil.
Yeah.
I think,
hard to argue, though.
You say that, but he's the best kind of conventional number 10. I mean, someone like David Silva is a very good creator, but in a way he drifts around out of that number 10 position. You know, Kevin De Bruyne would be an amazing number 10, but he doesn't really play there either.
He's more of an 8 now under Guardiola.
Well, yeah, he likes to get out wide and stuff because he's such a good runner. I mean, I'd say Ozil, though I think in the last season it was, and this is by a long, long way, I think it was Christian Eriksen by a long way last season.
Really?
Christian Eriksen plays off the left as well, but he is a number 10. His skill set is the perfect fit for the number 10 role, and he's such an amazing player. Like, every time I look at Spurs fans talking about their best players, they're wrong every time. They say it's Kane, they say it's Ali, they say it's Alderweireld. It's not, it's Eriksen. Eriksen's the best player at Spurs.
There's a hub of that side, isn't there? Fulcrum,
But talking about Ali, would you describe him as a number 10 now?
No. He's a second striker now, isn't he?
He's effectively a second striker, probably true. I think one of the men you talked about then, KDB. If KDB was playing as a 10, I think he'd be the best in the league. I think the fact that he can play as an 8 shows how good he is. I think maybe his best position is in fact a 10, playing quite tight to the striker. I think he's lethal from about 18 to 20 yards out, putting it bottom corner in particular. It reminds me a little bit of Yaya Toure in that role.
There was a lot of times last season when City, someone's mentioned Yaya Toure, Pat has just got a boner. But when City were struggling, Pep Guardiola would drop KDB back into a
that's how talented he is, though.
Midfield role, wouldn't he? And he could just spray passes out left, right, and centre. But if we're going to go for a classic number 10s, I mean, it's hard to look beyond Eden Hazard, in my opinion. I mean, he doesn't necessarily occupy that middle role. He can do. Chelsea had a very fluid front three last season, didn't they? With Pedro, with Costa, with Hazard, and we know he likes to take up wide areas traditionally, Eden Hazard. But what was the game? I'm struggling to think where it may have been against Spurs. It was towards the tail end of last season when Hazard pretty much picked the ball up in his own half, ran 60 yards and scored.
Yeah. Oh, that was Arsenal.
Was it Arsenal?
Yeah, he absolutely brutalised.
Sorry about that.
It was Arsenal.
But straight down the middle of the pitch, he's such a talented guy. He can play anywhere. If I said pick a number 10 for my fantasy football team in the Premier League, Eden Hazard.
But there are shouts as well.
I've got one more. Philippe Coutinho.
Even he's going to drop deep next season,
unbelievably talented.
Yeah, I mean, conventional number 10s. You see what I mean, though? Like the conventional number 10 versus that guy who wanders around everywhere.
But I wonder now,
a great number 10.
Just thinking about it now, just us discussing it has made me think, is that conventional number 10 role dead? I don't know whether there's room for a player that just plays as a 10 anymore on a team. You look at KDB, he operates as an 8 and a 10. You look at Eden Hazard, comes off the left and then comes into a number 10 role. Even Eriksen isn't a classic number 10, as in he would just sit in the middle of the pitch like David Silva or Juan Mata once did.
I'd say maybe one of the best and / most traditional number 10s last season, who we mentioned prior, probably Isco. And he was actually given licence to roam like a traditional number 10, wasn't he? But even he, me and you have discussed this, haven't we, on Eurofootball Daily, his future probably lies in dropping back a little bit when Modric turns 33, 34.
Some big names though.
Well, maybe it's just going to go away. You know, like these things always work in fashions, don't they? So it might
cyclical, innit?
disappear and come back in. Who knows?
But who do you think is the best number 10 in the Premier League? Leave a comment right now letting us know. Final question of the day, and the most difficult one, comes from Hex Jex. Who do you think the top 4 in the Prem will be next season?
Bite us in the eye.
God almighty, this is hard. I'm going to kick it off.
Please do.
League winners, Manchester City.
Ooh.
Second place, Chelsea. Third place, Liverpool. Fourth place, Tottenham.
Wow.
Interesting. Liverpool being the most interesting addition.
Bear in mind, I think I've just missed United out of that top 4.
If they, you have.
Yeah.
If Liverpool sign Naby Keita, maybe they'll reach the top 4.
I think they'll challenge if they get Naby Keita, but I'm going to assume they won't.
Go on, you go next, then.
Really?
Or do you want me to go next?
I'll go.
Go on, go for it.
Winners, United. Second, I'm going to assume that City are going to buy some midfielders and fullbacks. City. Third, Chelsea. Fourth, Spurs.
Ooh,
Spurs.
my.
So mine is very similar, but I go City top, United second, Chelsea third, Tottenham fourth.
Ooh, what we'll do as well is we'll come back to this at the end of the transfer window. We'll play this video back into that episode of Sunday Vibes,
See if it changes.
and we'll see if it changes.
Okay.
Because I think there will be some big movers and
I
shakers
completely agree.
before the end of the window. So that's all we've got time for on this episode of Sunday Vibes. Thanks so much for sending me your questions. If you want to be involved next week, use hashtag Sunday Vibes in the comments right now. Thanks to Christoph and Pato for joining me. You guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.